Hey, what's up, guys? I'm so glad that we are back on week 3. I miss each of you dearly, but I'm glad that we're still able to connect here. On week 3 of Daniel, I'm super excited about it, but just a reminder, this is the book I am going through personally as I'm also preparing this series for you and doing these messages for you. This is the Christ-centered exposition on the book of Daniel. I highly encourage it. I've been reading it. I've been loving it. It's a lot of good stuff, really easy to read. But let me give a recap about the last 2 weeks and to help bring things all together, and then also talk about this week in Daniel chapter 3. In Daniel chapter 1, we saw Daniel's holiness gave him the ability to speak into the king's life. And in Daniel chapter 1, King Nebuchadnezzar asked Daniel, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego to eat the king's meat. They refused. Now, that story is much bigger than not conforming to what exactly the king wanted them to do. That story speaks to Daniel's holiness, giving him the ability to speak into other people's lives. We saw that kind of flow over to week 2. In week 2, we saw that God honors his servants who faithfully serve him. As Daniel's faithfully serving God, it paid off in big ways for Daniel to get a promotion inside King Nebuchadnezzar's kingdom. And that brings us all the way to Daniel chapter 3. I believe this week the main idea that we're going to see is this: believers should have courage to detest idols and courage to profess Christ. Again, I think believers should have courage to detest idols and to profess Christ with their lives. In Daniel chapter 1, 3 men were kind of introed that get brought back into the story in Daniel chapter 3. These 3 men are Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. This is a story you probably learned in Sunday school when you were a kid, or small group when you were a kid, or maybe you've read it in the Bible, but this is not an unfamiliar story to most of us. This story is pretty knowledgeable by a lot of people. This chapter of Daniel focuses on their lives in a way that they detested idols that were worldly, and yet they still chose to profess Christ. Whenever I read this passage, it's super encouraging to me to live my life just like these 3 men did. But what was this idol that they were being forced to worship in that time? Well, remember, King Nebuchadnezzar was the king of Babylon. And as they conquered over the nation of Judah, he starts to instill different things into this nation of his own culture and traditions and things that other people, he wanted them to adapt and to adopt into their lifestyle. Well, after Daniel chapter 2, he kind of forgets his short-lived praising of the God of Daniel, and he goes to build a golden image. Daniel chapter 3 says that this golden image that King Nebuchadnezzar is building is 60 cubits high and 6 cubits across. Now, I had to go Google what the measurement was from a cubit to a feet, and this is it. King Nebuchadnezzar had constructed a golden image that was 90 foot high and 90 foot across. Now, that's a lot of gold. That's a lot of money spent into one place, but that's also a huge statue. King Nebuchadnezzar, he builds this statue and he gives this decree. See, as I'm setting the stage here, he says whenever any type of musical instrument is being played, he wants people to stop what they are doing, and he wants them to fall down and to worship this golden image. The King Nebuchadnezzar, that's what he wanted. That was a tradition he was starting to instill into the nation of Judah. See, God's people right here, they're faced with the decision. God's people here are faced with an idol in their life. God's people will be confronted with idols in their life. See, the nation of Judah, and all of a sudden there is a physical idol in their life that they are being forced to worship. Now, in today's terms, there are idols in our lives that are presented in front of us, just like King Nebuchadnezzar presented in front of the nation of Judah for us to worship, whether it be sports, popularity, fame, money, whatever it is. There are idols that are all around us that are always being presented to us that we have to worship. But I think as we continue to read the story, we'll be encouraged to see what these three men did. Picking up in Daniel chapter 3, verses 13 through 18, this kind of shows about the story here of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego in this golden image. As King Nebuchadnezzar made the decree that whenever the music is played, that they have to worship, one of his people in his council came to him and notified him and said, "Hey, King, there are three men who refuse to fall down and to worship this golden image." And King Nebuchadnezzar asked for these men to come to him, and that's where we pick up in verse 13. It says this: "Then King Nebuchadnezzar, in furious rage, commanded that Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego be brought to him. So they brought these men before the king, and King Nebuchadnezzar said to them, 'Is it true, O Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, that you do not serve my gods or worship the golden image that I have set up? Now, if you are ready, when you hear the sound of the horn, the pipe, the lyre, the trigon, the harp, the bagpipe, and every kind of music, to fall down and worship the image that I have made, well, good. But if you do not worship, you shall immediately be cast into a burning fiery furnace. And who is the God who will deliver you out of my hands?'" So he's saying here, hey, I'll give you one more chance for you to fall down and to worship the God of which I have created, this huge golden image. I'm going to give you one more chance to fall down next time you hear the music. And what I love about Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego is their convictions had already been set before they even got to a trial in their life. Verse 16 says, "Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego answered and said to the king, 'O Nebuchadnezzar, we have no need to answer you in this matter.'" What they're saying is, you can play the music all you want, but it's not going to matter. "See, if this be so, our God whom we serve is able to deliver us from the burning fiery furnace, and he will deliver us out of your hand, O king. But if not, let it be known to you, O king, that we will not serve your gods or worship the golden image that you have set up." So they said there's no point of playing this music. There's no point of even testing us. We have set forth convictions that we will not serve any other gods but God alone. See, as King Nebuchadnezzar gets frustrated with these three men saying, "We're not going to bow down. We're not going to worship the idol that you have created," or all these other idols in the world, he gets so mad, he orders for the furnace to be lit right there. He gets so mad, his rage automatically pushes him to want to execute these three men. See, one of the things to me that I thought was really cool is in Daniel chapter 1, verse 8. Daniel already set forth that he was not going to defile himself with the king's food. Well, in Daniel chapter 3, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego made the same exact decision. See, they made the decision that they would not defile themselves with worshiping any idols, but they would only worship God. So as they make this profession, as they say, we will not even listen to the music, we don't want to worship that God at all, we want to worship Yahweh above, he lights the fire. As the guards are taking Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego to the fire, it said the guards that were carrying them there were burned up because the fire got so hot. It was hotter than normal, and they throw these three men bound together into the fire. And one of the king's men comes to him, he says, "Hey, these guys are walking around, and there's a fourth one in the fire." We sing the song, "There's another in the fire." And what I love about this is it shows that God is with us even in the midst of our trials. See, God was with them in the fire, and God delivered these men out of the fire. See, what can we learn from Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego? I think it's this right here. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, they set forth their convictions before they were even tested. See, that's what we can learn from them. They set forth their convictions before they were even tested. See, if we make the decision in the moment about what we will do, we have a tough time following through with what God's commands for our lives are. But as believers, whenever we set forth that we want to detest idols and profess Christ, we will walk in tune with God's will and God's mercy. So this is what I want to encourage you to do. Set forth your convictions. Say, I will not worship any idols, but I will only worship God above. I will not worship the idols of sports or band or money or popularity or fame, but I only want to worship Christ. This is my challenge to you. I want you to detest the idols in your life, and I only want you to profess Christ. Not because it's my idea, not because it's your parents' idea, not because it's Pastor Todd's idea, but it's what God's word says that we are to do. As these three men are brought out of the fire, it says that they are delivered, not a hair on their body was burned. These three men were delivered, and they were delivered in a way that one day will give them the ability to speak into King Nebuchadnezzar's life, just like Daniel did. It said in this moment, King Nebuchadnezzar fell down on the ground again, and he worshiped the God that delivered Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. And just like Daniel, as they stood firm in their faith, they were then appointed a position in the king's office in the nation of Babylon, which will later give them more and more ability to speak into the life of others. So what's the main idea this week? To test the idols in your life and profess Christ as Lord. Set your convictions before you ever get to a place where they will even be tested. I love you guys. I miss you guys. I hope you have a great week. I'll see you soon. Hey guys, thanks so much for watching this past video. Look, to stay connected with what we're doing here at Midway Church, there's many ways you can do that. The first is this: subscribe to this YouTube channel. Also, when you subscribe, turn on your notifications. That way you know when we post a video so you can be in the loop about what's going on. Every Sunday morning at 11 a.m., Midway Church will be broadcasting our sermons live on our church Facebook page. Just type in Midway Church. There you will find exactly where we will be worshiping together as a church. If you don't follow any of our social media accounts, you need to do that. Our social media for Instagram is midway_students. There you'll find all of our posts and other content. And also, if you're on Facebook, it's Midway Student Ministry. I hope you go there, you'll find out what we're doing, and it'll be a way for you to stay connected in a time where things feel so crazy. Boom.